Hey, and welcome everyone to the final session of this track of the Cloudeight conference. It is a truly pleasure to see you here. I know it's been a long day, of course, but it's good that you still have the energy for one more session. And in this session, I will be talking about how the work and the world has been changing and what's going to be ahead of us. So I'm going to talk about the future of work and of course about the Microsoft Metaverse. What you can do it already today, and of course a bit about what's coming up and what you should be doing to prepare for that. There are steps, and yes, you can already do things in the metaverse and in the Microsoft Metaverse. We are just not waiting for the mesh. There's so much more in this. But of course, when you think about the future, it's about the future of work requiring new skills, new practices, new tools, new tech, and also the empathy. So that's going to be the kind of the content of this session. There won't be any live demos, sorry, but there's going to be some videos and some interesting stuff I'm very sure you will enjoy. My name is Vesa Nopanen, and I'm a principal consultant for future work and metaverse at Sulava. So if you are not in my LinkedIn network yet, please do connect. And of course, you can find me at Twitter as well. And yes, I do write a blog. I used to call that blog myteamsday.com, but now it's mymetaverseday.com. That's mostly posts about the metaverse, but there's some occasional Teams posts as well, because hey, everything is connected. I thought I will put a kind of a disrupting title to this slide. The future of work will not change without the empathy and disruption. And of course, when you think about what things future of work requires, that's one of the things. But usually when there's a disruption, any kind of disruption, it will drive the innovation, the ideas, and how we are going to change things, how we are going to take action on this situation that's disrupting us. Things change all the time, and that's one of the things in the hybrid world. We are in the constant change of in a constant change. It's just not the hybrid world, but the world of today. It applies to the modern world already. If you are still going with the leadership you did a long time ago, you have noticed that it's not really the way to do things these days. And if you are not into the change, then you're also in a bit of trouble, because you have to think about the future in there, and we will be seeing more rapid and long-term changes. We are going to be seeing changes all the time. We need to be able to agilely adapt to those changes. So we have to be responsive, and that's going to have lots of strain for the future of work. Of course, we have to learn constantly. We have to think about ways how we are going to work together, how we are going to go through all these situations, and it's going to be more complex than it was when we were working during the pandemic. It was, in a sense, easy. We were all working from home, so the situation was fairly simple. But the hybrid work, what we are now and in the future, that's going to be a much more complex. There's so many more variations that are happening all the time. And on top of that, if you start thinking about that what are people expecting? Like we have expectations as employees. For example, some of us would go to the office more if we know that our team members are there and our work friends are there. But we don't really want to go to office because, hey, company says so. So we have expectations, and when you think about the next generation of employees, the young generation of today, people who are in their teenagers, their 20s at the moment, they are expecting a lot better tools and practices what we have today. And all this is, of course, going to cause that disruption. And in the sense, of course, we have to remember that things are advancing very, very rapidly. The innovation is going very fast. So you have to have a lot of things to catch up. So as we can see, yes, we will need new practices. But this is not just about things that I pull from thin air, because I really love the Microsoft Work Trend Index study. They kind of comments that. And last night, they got an addition to this year's edition. So people really, they have kind of thinking about this hybrid world. They have new things they have to keep in mind, or companies need to keep in mind. For example, there's the issue that, okay, how we are going to keep our employees? So how we are going to retain them? People are saying, okay, company says that we want to go, we need you to come to the office. Well, we need a better reason for that. And on the other hand, the ongoing learning, ongoing training, ongoing development, how I'm going to develop as a person and as on the career as well. That's one of the things. Okay, perhaps I would stay in the organization longer if I'm getting more training, I'm getting development happening. If I'm in the stale situation, it's not really motivating stuff. And for the leaders, you have to think about, okay, what's the big paradox right now? That the disruption is there as well, is that, hey, I'm as an employee saying, hey, I'm very productive, and most of us are, but the leaders, they don't really see that. So there's a big gap between people and employees and leaders all the time. Is this going to be more simpler or easier? No. This is going to get, in a sense, far worse, because things are advancing more rapidly. We have to go forward with new practices faster and faster again all the time. And on top of that, digitalization is accelerating. We are going to be, I don't know, worth of 40 years of digitalization during the current decade, in the next 8 to 10 years. So the speed is pacing up. Everything is going to happen faster. There's going to be a lot more changes in the tech side, and on the other hand, it's opening new possibilities, and it opens opening new business models. It opens new ways how we work together all the time, and it's going to make this situation more and more complex. And thus, those organizations that are agile and adaptive and responsive can cope with that situation a lot better than the organizations that are relying on the models that were developed 20 years ago. And this brings me to the metaverse, because the digitalization is happening. We are getting more and more technology to guide and help us. And if we start to think about the metaverse is the next internet, no, it is more than the next internet. It's going to change everything in a very small way, you could say that, but it's going to affect everything. It's changing how we work together. It's shaping the future of work. So that's why it is a really important thing for all kinds of organization units to think about how we are going to deal with the metaverse and how the metaverse is going to help us with those challenges we saw. People are changing companies very often. They are not happy. How we are going to make our employees more happy, how we are going to make them feel that they are belong to the one company, or have the sense of togetherness. And I think the metaverse has a very good way of helping that. Because the employee experience is a very, very important thing. That's how we are experiencing. We need a holistic employee experience. It comes from our infrastructure. It comes from our home office setup, what kind of devices we have. But it also comes from the culture. It comes from the work culture, how we are dealing with others, how is our leadership and managers working with us. So we are getting that whole experience. Are we enjoying ourselves at the work? Do we want to push things there? Are we motivated employees? And what we lost in these 2D meetings or this kind of this is a very one-way session for you. I'm not seeing you there or anything else. So we are missing that interaction. And the metaverse is going to help us to regain that, because we are going to be regaining that spontaneous and visual interaction with each others. Yes, it's not going to match the real thing. It's always going to be better meeting Drago and at the office or at the event and talk to him in person. Yeah, of course. But if we can't do that, we are going to be needing these next best things. And it can help, Metaverse can help there to fill the gap, because it can make that presence to be felt. We are there, we are together with the others, we are feeling their presence. And that's going to help us to drive the innovation and collaboration and co-creation together, because we are going to be more motivated. We can express ourselves better there. And if you think about why I'm putting the new old ways to innovate together there, we as humans, as people, we have evolved over thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, even more. And we have evolved because we are social beings. We interact with each other. We are coming up with ideas, and we are innovating together. So the metaverse is going to give some of that us back when we are working the hybrid world. We are working from anywhere. So it's going to re-enable our social networks. And we are not always physically there, but we are going to be more present in the metaverse. And when we are, especially in the immersive metaverse, unlike this kind of 2D meeting, in the immersive meeting, we are going to be much more there, and it can give us experiences and memories, because the interaction, collaboration with the others is going to be so much different. And all that, it's going to help us to keep our employees with us. It's going to help to create more satisfaction, because we are going to be there together, the feeling of togetherness. And thus we are going to have much better way to keep them. So we have the retention part. No, this is not answering all those issues or challenges that were pointed in the previous slide, but I'm going to come for that. Also, what the employee experience in the metaverse is going to enable is, of course, the inclusion. We can participate from any part of the world. We can be there together and without limits. We may have some reasons why we can't come to the office. It may be just the fact that, okay, we can hire anyone to work with us because we don't really go to the office that much, or we can work from anywhere. And the diversity part is, of course, really important. We need everyone's ideas when we are creating something new, when we are innovating, ideating together. So we need that diversity part. And in some cases, using the avatars can be very helpful for people. Okay, I might not want to use the camera on, so it can help me to kind of express myself in the virtual world very well. Or it may be that just I may have some physical qualities that I don't want to express to my coworkers, because otherwise that would kind of start to tempt them to treat me differently. And that's not the point. The idea is to include everyone, so we can have as much as a diverse bubble of thoughts there, or the box of thoughts. So we are not just thinking about, hey, you, me, and the few other people from there, they're similar to me in every way. So when we are innovating together, we are still constrained within our bubble. But when we start bringing in different people from different areas, that's when the diversity matters, because we are breaking the smaller bubble and getting a lot more new ideas. And not to even mention about automatic translations. By the way, you can put the automatic translations already on in Teams. You can use the live captions and select the speaker language and put the subtitles to your language. I want to see this happen automatically in the metaverse. But it's not just about practices, empathy, and people. It's of course about business. We are doing that. We are working into companies and organizations. Well, because of course we want to work there and we have to work there. We are still employees, or at least most of us. And from the employer part of view, hey, it's business. They have to make money. So what the metaverse means for them? Well, think about this learning part. The metaverse is offering the learning and training revolution. It's going to change things, how we are going to be learning things and how we are going to be upskilling ourselves, how we are going to manage the onboarding of new people all the time. So how we are going to make things more efficient so we can save money. Are we going to provide remote support? And so the expert doesn't have to travel. They may be providing the remote support throughout the world. Yes, that's possible. That has been happening through Teams for a very long time, and it's going to happen even more in the metaverse era. So we can have those experts or centers of excellence and that can serve a wide audience without having to travel. Cost savings. Of course, for businesses, when you start to reimagine or visualize information in a new way, you get new ideas. You get new innovations. You start thinking about, okay, how should I improve this business process? Or could this be a new business model? How do I serve my customers? So you are starting to get more ideas, okay, how we are using the data, how we are utilizing the digital twins. I'm put there as synchronized digital twins. Of course, we should have digital twins of many areas. We might have digital twin of the office. Perhaps it's for the training classes, or perhaps it's a production facility. We are getting more information there that's being synchronized all the time. And what kind of possibilities it will enable for business? Should we have new business services for customers? That's all these things are really important, and that's a very good incentive for businesses to think about, okay, how we are going to be utilizing metaverse. And of course, one key part is the artificial intelligence. Analyzing, optimizing, thinking about the data and providing new insights of it all the time, making life easier, making work more efficient, more productive, taking some weight away from us, and on the other hand, giving us very good insights about things and making our work easier. So we can concentrate on more important stuff, or perhaps we just can take more cases. But automate what you can. You have to think about the digitalization and how you can make the digital transformation faster and better at the same time. Don't make it worse. Don't just copy your old process and make a digital version of that. Nope, that's not the way. You have to reimagine things. But I think the digital twins itself, that's a really huge thing for businesses, starting to think about, especially if you have something about, you could have a retail store. What about if you have a digital twin of that store? Could you be selling stuff through the digital world in the metaverse? There are already organizations doing that. Some are kind of in the decentral land or in the decentralized world. Some are more centralized, more controlled. But that's one of the opportunities. It's not a huge one yet, but the metaverse is just on the first steps here. So it's going to go faster and faster when it gets already. And it's, I'm not saying it's a slow start. but it's kind of things are starting to happen. And when they start going forward, they are really going to pick up the pace. For example, in my work during the last year, I'm already seeing that. It's picking up pace. It's going forward faster. And of course, the learning part, the learning culture, how we are creating the employee experience for our employees and helping them to develop at the same time. That's also a cost saving. We don't want to start and try to recruit new people there. But I'm coming back for the digital twins and more visual way. Yeah, my avatar is speaking a lot better English than I am, but it didn't sound like me. That's true. But that's just one of the ideas what you can do with the digital twins. It's a very broad scope from the avatar. Perhaps you have learning training parts where you have your people speaking up to training, because this was done in less than 10 minutes. This was really fast to do. And that's the kind of thing, the technology that's already out there that you can start using. But there are different kind of digital twins. For example, at my workplace at Sulava, we scanned our public side of the office, or actually we scanned the whole office, but we are only showing the public side usually. Is that there's one of our smaller meeting rooms there, and there are different training classrooms there where we are giving training. But the important parts like the ice cream, coffee, sodas, fridge, and of course the candies are there. So if you ever come to our office, you will see that it's really, really familiar. That was done, the whole office was done in 1 hour. So the disruption of the technology is there. How easy it will be to create this kind of visual digital twins of spaces, and or take this space and move that to the more complex platform. This could be a very good one for onboarding. Hey, you want to know what's happening there, or imagine that one with my previous slide, me talking or my avatar talking instructions, putting them into that space. You could have a very good onboarding experience that runs in the browser, on the mobile, in the MetaQuest 2. So you can have a VR version. So it's a very interesting concept, and there has been already retail stores that has been done using this tech. So when I was starting this, I was mentioning that some things you can do already. You can do already a lot in the metaverse. And of course, when you go for the more technical side, this is the Azure Digital Twin. This is done with 3D Scene Studio. So you have a factory model there, this is a distillation demo, but you can connect that digital twins. Perhaps it was a scanned one, or you had BIM information, BIM, you may have our CAD pictures. So you have the digital twin, the visual part. But when you start and connect that digital twin, the 3D model of the place, to the real world using the Azure IoT and edge technology, for example, you can bring in the real world information directly onto that model, and you can then reuse that information in visual way. And it's showing the GOGs. It's showing high emissions, for example. You can have the alerts, you can have the information coming there, you can add actions there, and that's on low code. You don't have to dive deep into Azure IoT, well, yeah, you have to connect those sensors to the Azure. But then when you are creating a digital twin, you are starting to get the information there. And from there, yeah, the sky's limit. You can start thinking about simulations, predictions, think about analyzing, using the information, getting the information and history to AI to come up with something new. So it's a really, really powerful tool where you can take the digital twin part. So that's a really interesting one. And keeping these in mind, I wrote a blog post about the field workers of tomorrow, or actually it's called the perfect day, field workers perfect day, thinking about how field workers, for example, can already use this and will be using this technology. So you could have a field worker who says, okay, what I have to do today? Okay, I have to go to that facility to change something or check on something. I'm a technician. I need to be there. I'm a field worker, and in there I get the best route, how I drive there or take other transportation means. I arrive at the scene, and while I'm going there, especially if I'm not driving, I could familiarize myself with the facility. How do I get to that certain point? So the 3D space can guide me in. Okay, walk there, and you will find the room. So less stress, and I can get that get there much faster. Or perhaps I'm using the AR device, mixed reality device like HoloLens, and seeing the route in front of me. And when I get to the point where I have to do the service part, I can get that digital twin information overlaid on the physical world. So I can use that information to better analyze what's the situation, better fix things. So I can be more efficient and save time and money. And perhaps I need to call some expert. The remote assistant has been there since the HoloLens version 1. It's been there all the time, and the need is not going away. Or in the near future, you can have the engineer be there in a vision with virtual avatar, looking at the same space you are looking and giving you information. You can talk to that avatar, and which is a real person in other country. So you are getting that support you need, and or perhaps you need some training there, or perhaps more information. So what I'm saying here is this is going to help field workers already today, but it's going to change things tomorrow a lot. This is changing the way the future of work, especially on that era. And that's something that's going forward very fast because the facilities, production facilities, factories, they are all using IoT. Well, they have sensors, they have data. They have been doing that since 60s and 70s. They have been running simulations since 80s or even 70s. So we have that possibility to just connect the last dots and create the field workers of tomorrow very easily. Yeah, some it's technology, but it's also about the people, how we are going to get the field workers the right equipment, the right training to use this. But a simpler example about, hey, we have people who are working at the production facility. They need to be onboarded. How they can be onboarded efficiently? Well, I really love the Dynamics 365 guides. That's an existing product. That's out there. You can use a low-code approach to build these mixed reality trainings or guides, helping people to do these steps, because you can anchor these models to spatially. So you could have that machine and put those instructions on top of that. And things start to happen when that person walks next to the machine and just one phase, one step, the checklist is progressing automatically. You can create power apps, custom power apps there to add more information. So this is the part of that field worker of tomorrow, because you are bringing the instructions and guides to people. It could be something like be on the new devices, or how do you learn things, how do you onboard things, how you are training, so you can repeat the training very easily. But it could be just like you are fresh worker and you need more help in the beginning. That can help you. Or perhaps it's at the hospital. You don't really use some specific device very often. Could that be a kind of a help there, so we don't have to have a specific certification already, but because it's not a life-threatening situation at the hospital. So perhaps the better example might be a car service. This is a new type of car or new type of electric car. What do I need to know? Hey, let's put on the headset. Let's go through these guides. And there's going to be less time needed for training. Or as simple at the office, hey, there's a printer, or perhaps there's a Cisco conferencing room and you don't really know how to use it. I was planning to use the Teams room as an example, but hey, everyone can use those. So let's go forward to Teams. And I mentioned Teams a few times, but then of course, why we are really interested about Mesh for Teams is that, hey, it's bringing the metaverse directly us to Teams. So we can join the metaverse through our normal Teams meeting. We can enjoy it as a game view. We don't need a headset. But if we have a MetaQuest 2, HoloLens, and so on, we can join the mesh space in an immersive experience. And that's when we are getting those experiences. So, and we are getting that better sense of togetherness. Not leaving out people using laptops or phones or tablets. We can all join to that 3D meeting. And before people are starting to think, okay, this is good or bad, this is not for every kind of meeting. It's tech. Tech is easy. People are hard. But you have to also understand what is a good tool for which kind of situation. You are workshopping, you are innovating, you are creating that kind of operation room. So you are seeing a kind of war room where you are seeing the situation. So you can be there, you can see the 3D models, you can see the Power BI reports and data. So you can talk and innovate with each other. You can have the whiteboard and put in the information. And by the way, Loop components are coming to Whiteboard in November. And of course, we have those avatars that are diverse, how we are representing ourselves and expressing ourselves in the metaverse. Those avatars will be voice activated. Nice. When I'm speaking, the avatar is speaking, that's good. And later on, it will get information like if we have webcam on and we have expressions, the avatar can kind of copy them. So they can have those reactions automatically. And before that is coming, of course, we can use the reactions menu in Teams and have the avatar to react in a certain way. And of course, the mesh is going to be a tenant level setting, by the way. It's a good thing to have a little bit of information from here and there that has been told. But I think what has been hinted and rumored is that we are really excited about what's happening at the Ignite from 12th to 14th of October, so just a couple of weeks away. So let's hope we are going to see a lot more there. And I have mentioned already a lot of tech. So there's plenty of tech there and how the Microsoft Metaverse is built. Of course, one of the things and big trends here is the low code or no code. We are going to be more and more solutions that allow us to create the metaverse with the low code solutions. Because, well, real coding is hard. We will need that, of course. But the thing is that there's so much more people who can do low code, and they are so much closer to the business. And that means that there's business reasons and business cases that can be transferred to the metaverse more easily. And that means that, hey, we are getting things done. We are going forward. But of course, Microsoft Teams, Loop, Whiteboard, and other collaboration tools are there. They are really important part. Microsoft Mesh is going to be the platform that helps us to create the metaverse experience controlled way, secure way, in the Microsoft Metaverse, so we can create those company spaces and operation war rooms and everything, digital twins of our production facilities. We will see that. And what was already told, that there's going to be Azure service that's going to be the mesh is running, the platform service is going to be running on Azure, but of course the Teams meetings are going to be much more lightweight. And there has been information that there's going to be spaces in channels as well. But the mesh is making it easy for us. We're using the mixed reality and virtual reality devices, HoloLenses. That's one user interface for that, how we are going to be seeing that data. Power Platform, yeah, it's there. And of course, all these kind of Azure services like digital twins, artificial intelligence. And what's a really interesting service is, of course, the custom voice. Let's play it. So I hope it sounded like me, at least a bit. That was generated from my voice samples, and I was able to write out whatever I want my voice digital twin to say out, the custom voice. That's a really, really cool tech, and Microsoft is taking this very seriously. So there's responsible use of AI, and that covers that. But it's a really great tech that can be used when you are creating the metaverse experience. And of course, the Dynamics 365, that's a very integral part of that, because the industrial metaverse is already building on lots of these blocks. So you can use the Dynamics parts to start getting work done with your field workers or factories, for example. But it's really a combination of this all. So because the metaverse is, it's not a one tech, it's converging everything that's out there. And when you think about the future of work and the metaverse, well, it's going to be spatial. It's going to be present everywhere. We have smartwatches. We are already in the metaverse, but we are going to be experience metaverse in our work in 2D and immersive way. So we can, for example, in this HoloLens mesh demo, that you can have a learning or teaching situation. You have a teacher, and everybody who's joining is using the HoloLens, so they can, or in the future they will be joining with mesh. From Teams, for example, so they can see the 3D model and manage and use the 3D model, so they can dig into that and teach about what needs to be known. That works really well if you have something physical, but it doesn't have to stop there, because in the metaverse you can go to the micro level. So for example, bacteria, cellular level, you can make them more visible, or you can go to the universe level and take people to the trip to Jupiter or the galaxy, or to see the black hole or anything. So you can teach things from the micro level to the macro level and visualize things very easily. But as I was already mentioning about this synchronized visualized digital twins, because we people are visual, we understand the visual things a lot more than just the big page of numbers or texts. We can see things from the visual version a lot more easier and take action from there. And of course, this expands to smart spaces. Well, it could be an office, it could be a meeting room, it could be a building, it could be a city. So smart cities is something like that's going to be built there. And when you start thinking about the spatial and present, there's a everywhere presence, that's going to be a very interesting world. And all this, the metaverse and the future of work is enabling us new ways how we are learning and training. But very importantly for the information worker, it's enabling us very well new experience for meetings, events, And showrooms. Hey, if you are selling something physical, why we don't have a showroom or our showroom of our next office there? And the key thing, Microsoft Mesh, it's going to make it really easy to join the metaverse. How you are getting there? This is something that you should be doing already. If you haven't started, hey, start now before it's too late. You need to think about your vision and strategy. And where in the metaverse you want to be this year, next, in 3-5 years. And when you start to think about the roadmap and going there, don't try to leap to the end. Okay, this is the final thing, because there's no final thing. It's ongoing, it's continuous, it's changing all the time. There's no end. It's going to go faster and faster and forward. So you have to get started with some visioning and a strategy, because from that you can start building the proof of concepts and pilots. Thinking about, okay, I could do this, I could use the guides today, or I can use Dynamics 365 connected spaces. I could do that today. Fine, we can do the Azure Digital Twin. Okay, can we do this part today, or do we have to wait tomorrow? And so on. So you have to pick up those things you can do today and then start planning the next steps there. Go through pilots and proof of concepts, because that's how you are getting experience. That's how you are getting learning experiences. And from that, you are reinventing them and making things go faster. It's a very, very agile way to get to the metaverse. Then when you have the strategy, you know how it's going to go forward. You have learned about the technology. You are building the journey roadmap. Okay, how our journey, chapter 1 is going to look like. How about chapter 2? And for all this, as usually with anything, you are adopting something new. You are needing sponsors. You need to get the management and leadership behind this idea. Otherwise, you would be very easily banging your head to the wall. And most importantly, you have to prepare your people. You have to think about upskilling them, training. Do they understand what this is going to mean? What kind of expectations they have? And for infrastructure, you have to think about the technology as well. And do we have to take in place that we are going to be needing? Do we need to do something else there? In my work, I'm seeing a lot of metaverse, of course, and our customers are seeing a lot of metaverse. Using these digital twins of offices and different places, we have created quite a nice disruption there as well. And you can already use them for different kind of experiences, internal or external. And customers are starting to think about new business models and how they are enhancing their customer experience, for example. If you have production facilities and things like that, you have to start thinking about the industrial metaverse part and using the smart spaces, field services, field workers there. That's a really good thing, because if you have a production facility, cutting down the downtimes is very important, because the production must keep running. And of course, the social events, for example, if you have physical products, the showrooms are very, very great. But on the other hand, how we are reducing travel, how we are making the presence known, the sense of togetherness, remember that. And how cool is that when you are doing things in a 3D space or having 3D town halls? That's sometimes a gimmick, but it's more and more reality and more useful and has real benefits for people. So metaverse is really a game changer. We have seen how internet changed our lives and cloud impacted our lives. We have seen the change in the world, and it's going to be the game changer there and even more. Thank you. You made it to the end, my whole 45 minutes. And if you want to see me live, come to Dubai on the Ignite week, and I will be speaking at GITEX. And I'm also going to be mentoring a hackathon Masters of Metaverse Masters there. So it's going to be a fun couple of days for me. And then you will find me at South Coast Summit at England at the end of that same week. So I will be speaking in person on the Metaverse there. And of course, all my sessions, they're more or less about the Metaverse these days. But ESPC at Copenhagen, it would be really fun to meet you in person there. Come and say hi. Let's go for a drink or something. And of course, if you are in Las Vegas at the M365 conference, I'll be there. I have one session about the Metaverse and one session about shared channels. I will be co-presenting these sessions, just like I'm co-presenting with Chris Ward at the South Coast Summit. But hey, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this and you had good time. Of course, have a great Friday. The Cloudeight Summit is going to end after this one. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. Otherwise, have a great weekend.